What's going on, people? Welcome back to another episode of the FF Ballbusters podcast. Today is Friday, July 28th, and today we are talking training camp news and hype. My name is Will. Joining me is my co-host, Eric. Eric, how you feel about some training camp news and hype today?
I'm pretty excited about it. There's a lot to talk about. We're slightly late to the game, but that's why we're here. We're getting you guys fully updated with all of the latest news coming out of training camp. And we'll probably be doing this video a couple more times as preseason starts and as we get closer to the season. So stick with us for those.
Yep, and with that being said, before we get started, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button. It's free, absolutely free. Hit that like button, helps us get our stuff out there. We're a small channel, obviously, but we're growing, and we're hoping to grow even faster on the road to 1,000 subs. So if you guys can help us make that come true for us, that'd be amazing. But with that being said, we're going to go ahead and get into it. We're going to be scrolling through over here on NBC Sports Edge, just taking a look at some of the stories and stuff going along in the background. We're not going to talk about everything. We're going to try to stay as fantasy relevant as we can. But obviously this week there has been a good amount of news. Just scrolling down from top to bottom, we obviously see Trey Turner's hurt up there. That's obviously going to affect the Seahawks, oh my God, the Saints offensive line quite a bit. But obviously that's going to stand to be seen, so we're going to breeze by that. But the big news we got right here, we got the two Cook brothers, but the more important one at the moment is Mr. Dalvin Cook. I'm just saying more important at the moment because we're still waiting to see what this situation is, but things are definitely heating up now in terms of him landing possibly with the Jets. He's currently with them right now. He should be at the facilities probably today even, doing physical stuff like that. News that I've seen is that they aren't letting him out of the building without him signing a deal. So it's looking like Dalvin Cook may be a Jet soon. And what do you think about that, Eric?
Yeah, I've been hearing a lot of the same things on Twitter and stuff like that. It seems like the drumbeat is getting louder for Dalvin Cook to the Jets. I just saw recently that the Vegas odds have made the Jets the favorite. He's now at plus 350 to join the Jets. And I heard that they actually have already offered him a contract. They're in negotiations, and the reports are saying they're only like $1 million apart. And so that doesn't seem crazy significant. And it sounds like they're likely going to get it done. As far as like how I feel about Dalvin Cook joining the Jets, I think it's a little ridiculous. Like, they already have a really good and deep running back depth chart. I think Breece Hall is well on his way to recovery. Even if he's not 100% by week one, he should be good to go in the early part of the season. We saw Zonovan Knight have a really good year last year. We know that Michael Carter is a decent running back. They just drafted Izzy Abanikanda. And so it seems weird that they would want to bring in and pay a veteran running back with the miles that he has and the injury history that he has. But I mean, Robert Salah is coming from San Francisco. He knows the kind of injury woes that they've had over there. They want to go running back by committee. And so I guess from that perspective, it kind of makes sense.
Yeah, when you look at it through that lens, that definitely does make a lot of sense, especially seeing as, like you said, Breece Hall, we haven't seen him play a full season of football yet, even though this is his second year. We're hoping that this year he comes back healthy and he's able to stay around the entire season. But just to have an insurance policy like Dalvin Cook or an insurance policy like a Breece Hall on the team, depending on who it is they decide to lean on, it's one of those moves that it's a great move for football, but like you said, it doesn't really make much sense because they don't need it. But it's just them really just stacking up the team even more because they can really. And with Aaron Rodgers taking the pay cut that he did and stuff like that, they've got a ton of flexibility in moves like this.
Quickly, because I know we have a lot of news to get through, but fantasy-wise, for those two players, Breece and Dalvin specifically, like, what does this do? We haven't really dove that deep into the numbers. This isn't necessarily our projection going forward. Just a quick, off the top of your head, what does this do to those two guys rankings-wise?
So if we're talking redraft, it puts them in a very similar realm. I feel like if you're going to lean on anybody in this instance, it's going to be Dalvin Cook, at least early on. I feel like since Breece Hall is still coming back from the injury, and at that point, if Dalvin Cook gets rolling and he's having a great season, they might sprinkle in a dash of Breece Hall, or at the very most, it's like a 60-40 type of split. I'm not sure how that backfield would really break down at that point, but taking a look at like Dynasty and stuff like that, I don't really know until we see how many years Dalvin ends up actually signing with this team if he does sign, because it could be anywhere from, because Dalvin Cook isn't that old. He's what, 26, 27?
I think he's older than that. Let me check, because
Okay.
I don't want to get it totally wrong, but I want to say he's 28, maybe nearing 29 actually.
Okay.
On Google it says he's 27 years old.
Okay, so 27, probably about to turn 28 soon, most likely.
August 10th is his birthday. Yeah, so about to be 28.
Okay, so yeah, probably looking at like, what kind of deal would you sign Dalvin Cook to at this point in his career?
I mean, I just told you that I think this is dumb. Like,
Yeah.
I wouldn't be signing Dalvin Cook if I were the Jets, but I can't see it being more than like 3-year deal at most, probably a 2-year deal. I don't think Dalvin would sign it if it was just a 1-year contract.
Yeah, I don't
I feel
think
like there's
so
other
either.
teams out there that would give him more than that. But you bring up a good point. Obviously, there's a huge difference in terms of implications for dynasty versus redraft. In redraft, I think it hurts them both
Yeah.
pretty.
Well, in redraft it helps Dalvin because he's on a team now, but
Yeah,
it's
sure,
gonna
that's
definitely it's gonna cap him for sure though. It's gonna cap him.
But-
It's not gonna be that same. Just the backfield is 100% yours that he had at the Vikings, you know,
Right.
because he does have a Brees Hall behind him now.
Yeah, when we don't even know, like potentially in front of him, we don't know what that's
Also
gonna
true.
Look like.
Yeah.
Because personally, like at this point in both of their careers, I think you could make the argument that Brees might be better. We've only seen him for 6 or 7 games of last year before he got hurt, so hard to say that definitively. But for dynasty, I do think that this would be a great buy window. Like people are gonna spaz, people are gonna freak out when Dalvin Cook, especially if it's a multi-year deal. It's going to be crazy blown out of the water, and you should absolutely buy Brees Hall if this goes down.
Absolutely. I 100% agree with that. It's just, like you said, it's not going to be any time I feel like Brees Hall's stock is going to be any lower. Even including the injury, people were like, oh, he'll be back next year, and he balled, so he's going to be good still. But this right here, this is the time.
Yeah. All right. Did you want to talk about James Cook?
I mean, 3 down back potential, that isn't really...
Bullshit.
Yeah, it's not really news to me.
Bullshit.
I don't see them doing that, especially with like Damian Harris. Is it Damian Harris? Am I saying that right? Yeah, with Damian Harris being there. Yeah, it's like this last sentence right here. Currently being drafted as an RB3, there's clearly a path for Cook to blow past his meager ADP in his second season.
Sure. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
But that's not like high praise. Yeah, like he's never once been a 3-down back at any point in his entire career. It's not going to change now. And I think Damian Harris is actually going to have a much better year than people expect.
Yeah, I agree, especially with all the goal line work I anticipate him getting as well. I think it's just, yeah, I don't think James Cook is going to be quite the asset people think he's going to with this whole 3-down back potential thing. And even still, potential doesn't really mean anything. It just means he might be able to do it. And we just don't know.
Yeah.
Moving down, there's a little bit more. Sean Tucker might make the final roster. That's pretty cool.
I was hoping that he would. I was hoping he might compete with Rachaad White, so a little lower expectations on that, I guess.
Yeah, good to see that he's healthy, though. Good to see he's healthy, able to stay out there.
Anthony Richardson expected to start week 1. That's kind of what I expected. There was a little bit of rumblings that maybe... What's Gardner Minshew?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it might start out of the gate and then quickly be replaced. But this is what I think they should do and kind of what I expected after they drafted him.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those situations where if this guy is the guy, why wait at that point? You know, it's not like the Colts are really beating down the doors at a Super Bowl opportunity right now anyways. So
yeah,
why not take a look? So I really love to see that. That's going to be great for fantasy. This is another interesting one. Not the biggest news in the world, but Clayton Tune with the Cardinals. Offers some mobility that may help him fit the system Arizona's installing better than Colt McCoy, which makes sense because their starting quarterback's Kyler Murray, a fairly mobile quarterback. If he's able to at least emulate some sort of, version of that kind of football that Kyler Murray plays, that would make sense for them to lean more on that side. So if you're out there, you got Clayton Tune possibly on waivers, could be a good time to pick him up.
In Dynasty.
In Dynasty. Not redraft.
But that was probably clear. Also, shout out Max in our Discord. I know he's been on Clayton Tune and banging that drum for quite a while. But yeah, then there's Trey Lance listed here. It says the 49ers would likely turn down a substantial trade offer for Trey Lance. This whole saga is so strange. I don't necessarily have anything to say about what they would or wouldn't do in a trade offer. I don't want to get into that just because that's super speculative. But as far as like the pecking order of these quarterbacks, they've made it pretty clear they want to stick with Purdy.
Mm-hmm.
And that's another thing that I wanted to get to. He's been fully cleared to throw now. He seems fairly healthy. I think he's taking off like every third day, and has been for the past like week or two. But they're gonna ramp him up to full go, and he's gonna stop doing that. I think this week. So things are looking good for him. But reports have been that he hasn't looked the sharpest when he has been throwing. Sam Darnold has looked fairly solid. Trey Lance has had, flashes, great days, and also some really bad days. Do you have any sort of insight or just guesses as to how this is going to shake out?
As far as I've seen, I feel like I saw a report either last night or this morning, even as recent as that said that Sam Darnold, in terms of the pecking order, is number 2 on the list, with Brock Purdy in the front and Trey Lance at number 3. So,
yeah, I saw that too.
So to see this news that they would turn down a substantial trade offer for Trey Lance, I think that's cap. I think that's just them saying that to try to drive the price up for him a little bit more, try to recoup, exactly what it is they gave away for him, which I don't think they're ever going to get that kind of value for him again.
Yeah.
But in terms of like them being able to find a team that needs a quarterback, like it says down here, we'll turn down a generous offer from a QB needy team in August. I don't think they will. I think if people come knocking and they really need it, like if the Falcons really, with all these clips we've been seeing, they might want a quarterback. And but them, I feel like that's a team that could obviously make an offer of some sort that would need a quarterback like a Trey Lance. But I just think this is just posturing, really. I don't think this is really news.
Yeah, I agree with you. And honestly, I don't know that there's too much to be said about that. We're going to have to wait and see.
Mm-hmm.
If you scroll a little bit further down, there's the other Brock Purdy report that I was referring to, that he is no longer going to require scheduled off days within 2 weeks. So he'll be back and throwing at his normal pace. JSN getting praised like crazy. We've seen tons of videos surfacing of him on Twitter, making plays down the field, making plays, drawn up around the line of scrimmage in the intermediate game. He is just a star at Seahawks training camp, and I cannot wait to see him step foot on the NFL field.
Yeah, you love to see a rookie wide receiver out there in training camp winning one-on-one battles with like vets out there. You really love to see stuff like that. Like, you don't love it for your veteran cornerbacks, but you love to see it for your wide receiver group. But it's like we said, man, this is exciting stuff. He might step in and be like the best wide receiver in this group.
I think it's very possible, yeah. Travis Etienne has reportedly caught nearly everything thrown his way thus far in camp. As much as I want this to be true, and as much as I'm rooting for Travis Etienne, his usage in the passing game will probably go up slightly just because he wasn't used that much there last season. But I'm not buying into this like he's a stud pass catcher now. Like, he's still what we've seen from him.
Yeah, I'm not buying into it, and I'm also confused as to who wrote this tag on here as well. I don't know if you read this at all, but it says, with the Jags using day 2 pick on early down bruiser Tank Bigsby, which Travis Etienne's bigger than Tank Bigsby. I do want that to be shown.
Technically on paper,
On paper. It says Etienne's not only going to have to consolidate his role in the passing game, but perhaps grow it. It sounds like he's off to a good start, but important to... So are they treating it as if Travis Etienne is going to be a third down back in this sort of instance right here?
I don't know.
I haven't seen any reports like that at all, to be honest. Have you?
I'm not expecting that, no. I think Tank, at least early in the season, is just going to be the change of pace breather back. And if he performs well, which I kind of expect him to do, I think he is fairly good, it'll grow more into like a slight committee, maybe like a 60-40 type split. And that might become necessary also just because we saw Travis Etienne with a bigger workload sustain some injuries.
Right.
But I think they know how explosive Travis Etienne is. His metrics were fantastic on a per-carry basis last year. So I think they know what they have, and they want to use him as a weapon, and they're going to continue to do that.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I think whoever wrote this, a little bit off, a little bit misguided. But that's okay. Because, we all have those days.
We all have those days. Not necessarily super fantasy related, I guess, unless you're talking about IDP leagues or whatever. But Jalen Ramsey expected to require a full meniscus repair that will likely sideline him until December. This just sucks. This sucks for Jalen Ramsey. It sucks for the Dolphins. I was really high on them as a team in total. If Tua stayed healthy and, if Jalen Ramsey stayed healthy, they were going to have a fantastic team on both sides of the ball, and one is biting the dust already, so that really stinks.
Yeah, it does hurt to see a little bit. I'm hoping this might actually mark the start of the Jalen Ramsey safety part of his career.
That would be a good transition. We've been talking
Yeah.
about this for probably over a year now, that
Yeah.
it seems like he'd be better suited in that role at this point. He's great at whatever he does, but yeah, I think safety might be on the horizon for him, like you just said.
I'm hoping so. Taking a look at this next piece of news, we got a scrub. Alexander Madison is comfortable. They're comfortable with him on all 3 downs, and that's neat.
That's neat. That's that's as neat as it gets.
Neato, awesome. If you have Alexander Madison, there's someone who's willing to buy him from you, I'd recommend selling him. I don't think he's going to be all that good. I saw a video, someone just making fun of Alexander Madison in terms of fantasy, and they were saying like, yeah, man, he gets tackled all the time. And I was like, why does he always get tackled all the time? And they looked at his profile and saw he ran like a 4.67 40, and they were like, oh,
Yeah.
he's slow. Like he is. I don't think he's the best at anything that he really does coming out of the backfield in terms of this running back group, to be honest. I think Ty Chandler's
Yeah.
a better receiving back. I think Dwayne McBride's a better between the tackles back. And I think Kene Nwagwu, I think he's just a more explosive player. So it's just, I don't see where Alexander Madison really fits into all that, where he's just the alpha of that group, to be honest.
Absolutely. And they actually say that further into this snippet here. High praise through the Minneapolis Star Tribune expects each of Ty Chandler, Kene Nwagwu, and Dwayne McBride to receive opportunities. It's ultimately difficult to envision Madison handling Dalvin Cook level workloads. And yeah, he shouldn't. He's never been nearly as efficient or effective as Dalvin Cook has been, and there have been plenty of reports throughout the offseason that have said that they're looking to run this as a committee, and so that's kind of what I'm expecting to see.
Yeah, like just because he looks like Dalvin Cook out there on the field doesn't mean he's Dalvin Cook.
Just because they both have dreads doesn't mean anything. And then if we scroll down a little further here, some of the biggest news, one of the biggest headlines that we talk about today is Joe Burrow. He did officially get diagnosed by the Bengals with a calf strain. There was a little bit of worry initially when the video came out of him, pulling up and going down to the ground, that it might have been an Achilles tear, but it seems like he's avoided the worst. We also did see a close-up video of him immediately after the injury, like flexing his foot forward, which I don't believe would have been possible if he had fully torn his Achilles. So I think he avoided the worst, but calf strains and these like lower extremity soft tissue injuries tend to linger into the season, and so I would be a little bit nervous about that.
I'd be nervous about it too. We've seen Joe Burrow play through seasons hobbled as well, though, and
It's true.
he went to the Super Bowl that year. So it's tough to really count Joe Burrow out with any type of injury because he is tough, and that was something that I think Jamar Chase gave him a lot of praise for. He said that he gave him a nod and a thumbs up going off the field, and he was like, "Yeah, he's all right." Maybe a little bit of revisionist LeBron-esque history there, but I do trust the players a little bit that they do know what's going on with their bodies a little. And the fact that he's moving his ankle around like that, it's a good sign.
Yeah, and I fully expect him to be ready for week 1. I'm not saying he's going to miss games necessarily. He might not just be quite as mobile, and this might be something that he re-aggravates throughout the season. Again, not predicting it, just saying it's possible. Another kind of sneaky thing to note is that he had been seen, obviously, throughout training camp not wearing a calf sleeve. And then that day was the first day that he had been seen wearing a calf sleeve, like a compression calf sleeve. So this is speculation still, but potential that he had a minor injury or something like that.
And then aggravated it right there.
So this could be round 2 of this, which could mean slightly worse recovery timetable. I expect him to sit out the preseason, but like I said, be ready for week 1.
Yeah, so we're going to have to keep an eye on that situation as it develops more, but it is good to know at least that it's not an Achilles tear, so that is a good sign. So
yes. Yeah, we can keep going down here. Matthew Stafford is quote-unquote throwing what appears to be a full workload. This is encouraging. I really wanted to see him. Reports saying he's fully healthy, his elbow's back to being good, because this team's going to be bad. The offensive line is going to be terrible, and that probably means a ton of pass volume. So Matthew Stafford could be a sneaky QB2, and it just means better things for Cooper Kupp as well.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of analysts saying that like they're going to be this year's Lions, where they're just hemorrhaging points and they've got to score if they want to stay in games. So should be a high-scoring offense, hopefully.
Yeah.
Scrolling down a little bit more.
Got Garrett Wilson up there if you want to talk about that one.
Yeah, Garrett Wilson left out of practice with an ankle injury, so a little bit of scary stuff seeing that notification come through on my phone. But according to Robert Salah, they kind of took a look at it, and everything is seeming like it's going to be fine. He's going to be okay, so he should be good for Week 1. They're probably, like you said, they're going to take it easy for him as well, going into the preseason, stuff like that. But a little bit of a minor injury scare. And then moving on to somebody who's coming back from an injury as well, Mr. Javonte Williams was cleared for contact. They're not sure if he's going to play in the preseason, but still an amazing sign for his timetable that he's already cleared for contact, and he's been out there practicing for the last 2 weeks.
It's really impressive. It's really impressive. We've talked about straying away from injury optimism with stuff like this. But you also don't want to completely ignore these types of reports, especially when they're coming straight from team doctors and not just the beat reporters, not just the coaches and coach speak. But he's been officially cleared for contact, full go, which you love to see. And they're talking about the possibility that he could even have a chance to play in the preseason. I think he won't. I think that that's definitely not going to happen. But that's even on the table is crazy. So it means Week 1 could be likely.
Which is insane because we were thinking this was going to be one of the more major like ACL tears too. Like this was one of the more major ones where other ligaments and other parts of, I believe even his hamstring were involved in this too. Was it hamstring or quadricep? Quadricep, one in the front.
It was something similar to what happened with J.K. Dobbins, I believe.
Right.
But I can't remember which muscle group that would have been. But
I was only pre-medical. I was only pre-medical, guys. I didn't know. But it was a more, like you said, more complicated injury. And to see that he's progressing this quickly is amazing to see, honestly.
Yeah. I'm still tempering expectations for him early on in the season. I think there's definitely going to be a ramp-up period. And also, we've seen from Sean Payton offenses in the past that he likes to go running back by committee. He doesn't like to have a full, like workhorse bell cow type back. So I think Samaje Perine is going to get plenty of work, especially early on. But yeah, I mean, like week 6, 7, 8, somewhere in there, he'll probably start to ramp up, feel better physically and mentally, confident that knee is going to hold up, and I expect to see really good performance from him.
Yeah, absolutely agree.
All right, so let's keep scrolling down here. Josh Jacobs shows up here. This is one that I want to talk about in tandem with Saquon Barkley. That news came out, I guess, has it been over a week now? It's been a little while.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll talk about Josh Jacobs first since he's up here. He has not reported to training camp. This headline says that the Raiders offered Josh Jacobs a contract worth $12 million per year. If he had signed the why am I forgetting what it's called?
CBA? Or are you talking about franchise tag?
The franchise tag. If he had signed the franchise tag, that would have been a $10.1 million deal. And yeah, Mike Garofalo is reporting that they offered him up to $12 million and he declined. Thoughts on this situation in general? Like, we're going to talk about it with Saquon too, but I just don't think that Josh Jacobs has that much leverage.
I don't think he has that much leverage, but I don't think that's because of Josh Jacobs or Saquon Barkley. It's because of the situation, like the situation the running backs are dealing with right now, where they're not getting paid what they feel is fair, or, what they feel is fair compared to their contribution to the team. Because
absolutely
something that we've talked about before, besides the center and the quarterback, the running back is going to be the player that's touching the ball the most out of everybody on the offense. So it was just someone put in a lot of context the other day, the fact that Saquon Barkley had to fight tooth and nail to get Cole Kmet money, which is, and when you look at it like that, it's kind of crazy because Saquon does account for such a huge portion of that offense, and Cole Kmet does what? But they're getting compensated for that same amount. It doesn't really make much sense. But when you look at it from a longevity standpoint, it's like running backs don't last as long. The shelf life is different. So there's some sort of balance between these two that we haven't really found yet, because we've seen situations where a super productive running back does get paid a lot of money in Todd Gurley. And then what happened right after that? The wheels fell off immediately. And that's what every team is trying to avoid right now. And I don't blame them for trying to avoid that. But I do think these running backs need to be compensated more, because at a certain point, people are going to want to not going to want to play running back because they see how they get treated and they see how they don't get paid.
Yeah. Yeah, it could lead to a big shift in the league and the talent that's coming into it if things continue on their current track. But I want to break the situation down just a little bit more. I've seen people kind of hating on Saquon or making fun of him for, talking about holding out, talking about not playing the season, and then accepting a deal for less than $1 million more than what he would have taken if he had signed the franchise tag. But really, I think people are kind of missing some things. We talked about it in a news and notes video like a week ago or 2 weeks ago, whatever it was, that the deadline of July 17th, that was the deadline for these players to sign a multi-year contract or extension. After that deadline passed, you no longer can sign for more than 1 year. You either accept the franchise tag or you sign a 1-year deal. And so that completely zaps your leverage. Like if you're holding out to get more years on your contract, that makes sense. And obviously they want to be paid more, but they want the security, they want the guaranteed money and stuff like that. Once that deadline had passed, the team, like, it never happens basically that you sign for more than the franchise tag after that deadline passes. I think that's only happened like once since the CBA has been ratified, like in the past like decade or so. That like after that deadline, there's been an additional contract signed. I'm getting way too into the weeds, but basically I'm just defending Saquon and what he did. He got the best out of the possible situation that he could have had at this point in the offseason, I think.
Yeah, it's like people are saying, oh, well, he only got 900,000 more. Like, yeah, that's a lot. Can you negotiate 900,000 more dollars in your contract? I don't think so. But
yeah,
it's the fact that, like you said, it was he didn't have that much leverage. The team does want him there. He wanted to be there. It wasn't any animosity. It's just he wanted to get compensated for what he was doing. So, this gives an opportunity to at least get an opportunity to make more money and show the team that he wants to be there and hopefully work out that long-term deal in the offseason going into next season.
Right. Okay, so we've talked about most of the running backs that we wanted to get through: Dalvin Cook, Breece Hall, Javonte, Josh Jacobs. Do you want to talk about? I know it's not listed immediately. Do you want to talk about J.K. Dobbins, and then also if you go down a little further, we can talk about the Jim Irsay Colts stuff too.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay, so J.K. Dobbins. I haven't seen this floating around too much on Twitter, but he got placed on the PUP, the physically unable to perform. I don't think that it's because he's physically unable to perform. I think his wallet's hurting more than his body is. I think he's holding out for an extension, again, in a situation where I don't see him having very much leverage. I don't think this gets to a holdout situation. I think he is reporting, like he's there. It's like a hold in currently, so I'm not too worried about it, but yeah, he's currently not participating.
Yeah, it's just that I think at this point he's like, look, I'm not getting compensated. I'm not getting paid. I'm not putting in any extra work that I don't have to. So yeah. I'm gonna be here, but I'm not really here until you need me, until I have to be. Right. It's just I just don't understand. I don't know how this is gonna work itself out, to be honest. And then, like Eric said, we're gonna scroll back up because this is an issue that kind of transcends just running backs complaining about it, because now we've gotten to the point where owners are chirping back about it as well. We've got Colts owner Jim Irsay, who took to social media to kind of discuss this whole situation, and he's saying that agents are selling bad faith to these running backs and saying that they should get paid more and that they should want to get compensated more. So the exact quote is, NFL running back situation. We have negotiated a CBA that took years of effort and hard work and compromise and good faith by both sides. To say now that a specific player category wants another negotiation after the fact is inappropriate. Some agents are selling bad faith. So it's one of those, it's a bad tweet. It's a bad tweet.
It's a real bad look.
Yeah.
It's a real bad look, especially when you got JT in the building looking for a contract extension, which we have more news on. In direct reply to that tweet from Jim Irsay, JT's agent said bad faith is not paying your top offensive player. And then we saw even more from his agents. Ian Rappaport quote tweeted Jim Irsay's original tweet and said, "Hope this relationship can be fixed," which was then quote tweeted by JT's agent and said, "I doubt it." So things are getting contentious out there in Indy.
Yeah, it's getting it's getting testy, and it's like I said, I don't know how the situation is going to resolve itself. I don't know what the end goal of all this is, or not even what the end goal is, what the end result of all this is going to be.
Yeah.
Because with that being said, and Jonathan Taylor is obviously not happy with what he heard there. How's that going to affect this season even, you know? I'm sure he's still there. He has been with the team, right? Nothing's been happening in terms of that because this is fairly new.
We also recently got news that he got activated fully because he was still dealing with he was still recovering from his ankle surgery to repair that high ankle sprain that he had during the season. But he's been cleared and he has been participating. I don't expect this to necessarily lead to a holdout situation. I think he's going to play. But it could certainly affect the relationship that he has with the team and whether he wants to come back long term.
Yeah, it's going to be a rough situation for that one right there. So he definitely put his foot in his mouth there. Moving on to the next piece of news we got, scrolling down a little bit. We've got Aaron Rodgers was signed to a 2-year, $75 million contract, which is substantially less than his old deal was. It was actually restructured. Yeah. He's taking quite a bit of a pay cut. Do you want to talk more of the details about this? Because I'm not great with the money side of things.
Well, so I don't know necessarily all of the implications, but yeah, he was initially due $110 million. And so it's significantly off of that. That's what, $35 million decrease in total money. It says, Tom Pelissero notes Rodgers' new deal is technically a 5-year deal, including 2 option years to spread out bonus, proration, and create a 2023 cap number just under $9 million. So, yeah, they're doing a lot of kind of contract magic here, creating void years and stuff like that on the back end to give them a lot more money and ammunition this year, which is going to free up space for probably Dalvin Cook, is what it seems like. And potentially, we've heard some rumblings, still speculation at this point, potentially a little reuniting of Aaron Rodgers and Davante Adams.
Bro, I would love that, because if there's one thing I know, it's that the Raiders love wasting picks. So if they could just get these Jets picks out of there, get Davante Adams over, I'd say it's a done deal, and you know, both sides are happy on that, you know? Obviously, the Raiders still are rebuilding because they just haven't done well in the draft. Hopefully, they can get better in the draft, and having more capital just makes sense for that, right? So trade for a Davante Adams. See what you can get, you know? But Aaron Rodgers is definitely loading up, trying to go back to the Super Bowl. I love to see it. This is like a Jets offseason on steroids. Like, usually it's pretty good, but this one has been absolutely insane.
It's been pretty nuts. I'm very excited to see what happens as we go further into the offseason. There's a couple more things that I want to hit that I'm not sure how far we're going to have to scroll to actually see on screen. But I wanted to talk about Kyle Pitts and his recovery from his knee injury, Justin Herbert and his deal that he signed, as well as Sean Payton's comments. I'll scroll for a second to see if I can find any of them. But if not, we can just get right into it. Here's Kyle Pitts. Are you seeing that as well?
Yep, Kyle Pitts. Drake London says Kyle Pitts' knee is still getting back to full health.
Yeah. So he sustained an MCL injury late into the season and missed the final 7 games of 2022. Based on the recovery timetable that you would expect, and from what I've seen from the Twitter doctors and fantasy Twitter contributors in the doctor space that have talked about it, he should be further along than what we're seeing right now. He's still in a heavy, bulky brace. He looks fairly limited physically, and the way that he's moving isn't fluid yet. So it's definitely concerning. From the team, the reports have kind of been more on the positive end that he's going to be ready to go for week 1. But this is giving me a little bit of pause.
Yeah, I'm definitely a little bit hesitant, especially like you said, after seeing the video ourselves. He does look like he's a little bit slow through his progressions, like he's not quite confident on that knee yet, and I think that's the biggest thing. Like you said earlier, I think the hugest thing for an athlete coming back from injury is confidence. Confidence that they can trust their body, that they can trust that part that they got injured, that they can kind of go back and go all out again. And from what we've seen, Kyle Pitts isn't quite there yet. So it's definitely making me a little bit more hesitant.
So definitely something to keep your eye on as we get further into the offseason. If we scroll just a couple more headlines down, we do have the Justin Herbert news becoming the highest paid player in all of football, signing a 5-year deal worth $262 million through the year 2029. This is huge for Jay Herbo.
Yeah, it was just I remember seeing a tweet. It was just him and Joe Burrow. They're both just kind of sitting back waiting for the other one to sign so they can ask for more money and then they can be the next highest paid. It's just how the quarterback carousel goes. To be honest, this makes me glad that Jalen Hurts signed his earlier, because I would have hated to see just all the discourse and then potential holdout of that situation as well.
Yeah.
Because I feel like he
absolutely.
had to fight for what he got there. But Justin Herbert, obviously extremely deserving of this contract. He's been playing very well, and he's only been getting better and better. And hopefully this offense under Kellen Moore next year and them just opening it up more, because like you said, I believe in our last video, I believe you said in our last video when we were talking about Keenan Allen. Our wide receiver ranks are out, by the way, if you guys want to check that out. Link in the iCard up above, click that. But we were talking about Keenan Allen, how we're hoping that not so much that the offense passes the ball more, because there were a lot of passing attempts going out in LA last year. It's just more so that we hope the quality of those attempts goes up and there's more passing yardage and stuff like that, more downfield attempts, stuff like that. So we're very confident for Justin Herbert going forward, and just seeing the team, back that up with this contract is amazing.
Absolutely. Big things in store, I think, for the Chargers this year. I want to talk about Sean Payton's comments. I've been scrolling and I haven't seen the report listed in here, so we can talk about it separately. I just saw an hour ago from Ari Merov that he's already backtracking a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
He said about his comments, "I had one of my moments where I had my Fox hat on and not my coaching hat on. It was a mistake by me. I said what I said, but I needed to have some more restraint."
So that's more of I meant that shit. I just shouldn't have really said it like that.
Yeah. But do you have the exact quotes?
Let me see.
Because we haven't mentioned that yet. I'm looking for that on Twitter right now.
Let me see.
Basically, we'll try to find the exact quotes. But basically, he said
I think
when talking about the performance. You got it?
Yeah, I got it.
Okay.
New Broncos coach Sean Payton opens up about how badly he thinks the 2022 Broncos were coached. They can only bleat the expletive out of you so much, but everybody's got a little stink on their hands. It's not just Russell. It was a poor offensive line. It might have been one of the worst coaching jobs in the history of the NFL. That's how bad it was.
Which, facts.
Yeah.
But that's crazy. That's crazy for him to say.
Yeah, it's what we were all thinking last year. It's what we've said several times on this channel ourselves. He's just saying what everybody was thinking, and I think, like we said earlier, his only regret is that he said it the way he did, because he should have probably not said it like that as another NFL coach, But hey, it is what it is. I'm hoping for a big rivalry between Sean Payton and Nathaniel Hackett now.
Yeah, and he had some comments for the Jets as well. We were just talking about how great their offseason has been, or at least how entertaining it's been. And he was saying that the best that the Jets are going to be is their hype in the offseason news right now, and that you shouldn't expect the same performance from them once we get in season. So he's been throwing shots left and right.
The only thing they're going to win is the offseason is a crazy bar.
Yeah.
It is a crazy bar. That's why I kind of love that Sean Payton's back, man. I don't remember him talking this much before, but I'm here for it if he's going to keep doing this, to be honest with you.
They put him on TV, and he lost all the filter.
I love it, bro. I love it. This is what the NFL needed. And I honestly, with talk like this, it makes me more optimistic for the Broncos going forward, because if it was one of the worst coaching jobs ever in the history of the NFL, right, and we've seen some really bad coaching jobs, it does kind of mean that the sky is the limit for this team if he can pull it back together, which it seems like he's figured out what a lot of the issues were, and he's at the root of fixing a lot of them. So that makes me fairly confident for Russell Wilson going forward, and just a lot of the players on that offense like Jerry Jeudy, who we also talked about in our wide receiver rankings video. Check that out.
Good plug. You'll love to see it. But that's all of the big headlines that I wanted to talk about. Is there anything else you wanted to mention before we round this thing out?
The only other thing I wanted to talk about, just because we scrolled past it, it's a little bit higher up, but just wanted to talk about my boy anytime I get the opportunity to.
Yeah.
But Mr. Rashee Rice, leading receivers in Chiefs training camp right now in terms of first-team reps. Sky Moore, obviously, has been more of the standout. He's a second-year receiver. He's obviously taken a big step up. But nothing but good reviews so far for Mr. Rashee Rice coming out of training camp. He's been getting a lot of reps, getting a lot of opportunities with Kadarius Toney being down. Doesn't mean he's going to be the wide receiver one stepping into the regular season. I'm sure that will still be Kadarius Toney when he comes back. But seeing how confusing it is for this Chiefs offense and how traditionally confusing it is for rookies to learn and kind of thrive in that system, to hear good reviews from Andy Reid and the offensive coordinators out there, it is very positive for me, at least, encouraging for Rashee Rice going forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and you mentioned Kadarius Toney probably being the wide receiver 1.
Well,
I don't know if I'd say that.
Well,
I don't know if I'd say that.
I should have rephrased that. I don't see Rashee Rice immediately stepping out the gate and starting, maybe even getting more reps or even more snaps than Kadarius Toney. I think they will still possibly cede that to him, at least to start. That's what I meant to say.
I'm just also looking at this other headline further down about Kadarius Toney's knee surgery, and that there's still doubt about his week 1 status and all this stuff. It's like, man, just from a fantasy perspective, because this is a fantasy channel and that's what we talk about the most, don't draft Kadarius Toney. Like, there's all this hypothetical upside, which is important to talk about, but it's also just as important, if not more important, to talk about how likely it is that he hits that upside. And we just haven't seen him be able to stay healthy his entire career dating back to college.
I don't know if I've ever seen Kadarius Toney play 4 games in a row. Y'all can fact check me on that, but I don't know. I don't know if it's happened. That guy's hamstrings are not, his ligaments are not built correctly. I don't know what it is. Or maybe he's too explosive. That could even be an issue too. Who knows? But
he's too powerful for his human body.
Honestly, it happens sometimes though. It happens. Like I think that's how Bo Jackson ended up going down. He was just too strong for himself.
Or when Zion blew out his shoe.
Well, yeah, that too. Zion, he's
not his body.
He's got some lower body extremities for some other reasons too that came out in the news recently, but we ain't gonna talk about that one too much. But I appreciate you guys for watching through this video. That's gonna kind of wrap up our NFL news. As you can see, we've gone off the rails immediately at the end. Make sure you guys check out all those links down in the description below. Check out our sponsors over there at Dynasty Owner, over at Do Numbers, over at Underdog Fantasy. Use our promo code FFLW for that for a 100% deposit match. Check out our partners, the League Winners. That link will be down in the description below as well. You can check out some cool articles, stuff like that from all of our fellow creators. And Eric, you have anything else for the people before we get out of here?
Yeah, just real quickly, like we talked about at the top, we are on the way to 1,000 subscribers. We're building, we're growing, we're trying to get better and provide you guys with the best possible fantasy content that we can give you. And so it would be super duper appreciated if you could hit that subscribe button. It means way more to us than you even realize, and it's free. It doesn't take any time out of your day. It doesn't hurt you in any way. So please do that. That would be very much appreciated. Like button, notification bell, all that good stuff. Discord link also in the description below if you want to have more of a conversation with us about any of this news, any rankings, anything like that. Hit the comments, all that good stuff. We love the interactions. But if you've made it all the way to the end, we very much appreciate you, and we love you. And we will catch you in the next one. Peace.
Peace.